Hello, everyone, and welcome to CGL Horror. Tonight's show is going to be as scary as it usually is. I usually have a guest with me, but she seems to be late or got her time mixed up. But that's okay. I still have the piece that I plan to read for her tonight and give the critique nonetheless, and the show will still run as it has in the past. So still, please do bear with me. I'll give a few minutes or some seconds for a few people to show up who's planning to watch the show because the notices go out and YouTube delays and all that. But I will share all of the layouts with you, if you will, tonight. You'll get to answer the topics, the horror hot topics, and I will answer them, and you get to hear my answers, and I will read yours aloud. Let's see who has joined us this evening. Hey, RC, how you doing? You are here. Thank you. Barrett, hey, thank you for coming. Hello, Natalie. And hey, Cool Gamer. Thanks for everyone for showing up for tonight's show. Again, if you get here in time and see that my guest is not here, I don't know what happened with her. But I am still going to run the show as always. I do have her piece to read again, like I said, and I plan to read that and give the critique here. Let me pull up the first banner. And hold on a second. Oh, she might have actually made it in here. Let me look and check here. I thought I saw a private message.
Oh, hi. Oh my gosh.
Oh, you're muted.
Am I still muted?
Yeah, I can't hear you, but I don't think that's on my end. But again, I'm hearing myself talk, so I have no idea. I think if everyone couldn't hear me, they probably would have said so by now. So check your mic. You can hear her. Let me check and see. It might be my mic. Hold on a second. Wait a minute. You might not be muted. It might be my volume. There we go.
Roy,
I got it now.
Barking, dude.
My volume was down because since I was doing so for the show, I forgot to turn it back up. So you're good.
Yay.
Thanks everyone for saying in the chat so that way I can know that my mic was down. Yeah, I decided to start putting my headset inside the speaker so that way just in case feedback happened from my speaker running back of us talking. So, yay. All right. So, my guest tonight is Laura Nettles. As you can see, you should know her. I'm sure you've seen her around. She will be reading her piece later in the show. Mm-hmm. And I will go ahead and let her do her introductions and I will give you full screen.
Okay. Hello, my name is Laura Nettles. My channel is called Laura Nettles, handy dandy. I mostly write horror. I've dabbled into sci-fi. I'm about to dive into a romance, so that's going to be very different. But yeah, I have mostly like flash fictions, short stories, and drabbles that are published. Well, that's all I have published. I am currently querying a middle grade horror novel to literary agents. So that is me.
Alrighty. Yes, if you check out Laura Nettles' stuff, she does do a lot of flash fiction. It's really good stuff. So definitely go on over to her channel. Her links are in the description. So if you are not subscribed, please go do that. But don't disappear from the show. You can open up another screen and subscribe or save it for after the show. That'd be good because you got to hear everything we're going to be doing here. All right. So you know who I am. I'm the Mistress of Horror, author DL Tillery, and this is my channel. We do these CGL live streams once a month on the last Sunday of the month at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. Over on my channel here, I tend to do talks about horror, my book tours, book hauls, things of that nature. And, anything scary that might come to mind, I might have to share. All right, so we're going to go ahead and jump into the first part of the show. And let's see here. we're going to go ahead and do the discussion for the first part of the show, which is the first question. Everybody can answer that. Usually in between one of the questions, we will let Laura talk a little bit about herself so that way you get to know her. Because really, the whole point of CGL Horror is to get horror writers in front of other people more, because somehow we're hidden. I know we're trying to scare you, but we're not trying to jump from behind trees per se.
We don't always want to be in the shadows.
Yeah, that's right. The shadows is fun stuff. So don't get me wrong. All right, let me go ahead and switch over our banners. So we got our chat and topics portion. Tonight's first question is, what was the first horror movie or horror video game, because some of us play video games like myself, and the first horror book you watched, play, read that stuck with you, and why did it stick with you? Did you want to think about that for a little bit, Laura, while I answer it, or do you want to jump on it?
Oh, I have one. One of the earlier horror movies that I saw as a kid was Psycho, the Alfred Hitchcock movie.
Yes.
And my parents were like, this might scare you, so we'll see how this goes. You can sleep in our room tonight if you need to.
So check it out, your own religion. Like,
so
that's funny.
It was great. The whole movie, I was fine until the very, very end, where the car is being exhumed out of the swamp, and it transitions to Anthony Perkins' face when he is in the jail cell. Right. And as they transition, they were sneaky, and they
sound like a jump scare kind of spot a little bit.
They superimposed a skull over his face, so the grill of the teeth morph into the grill of the car, morph into these teeth and morph into his face. And I was like,
right. Nice play with the camera work there.
Oh my gosh!
Right, the editing was good on that. Yeah, so it's like one of those jump scare, like you don't know it's coming because you're like, okay, I know what's going on here. But it doesn't have the loud. No, it's not that type of jump scare. It's one of those ones that it's jump scare because you didn't know that was coming. And some jump scares we know it's coming, but this one's very specific, actually. I'm glad you brought that up because you don't expect that in that movie. Because, he's a psycho, and this is killing and stabbing, blah, blah. So you don't expect them to do a transitional scare. So I'm sure you're not the only person that got and stuck with.
Yeah.
I doubt you're the only one.
So good.
So what book by chance did you the first book that you read that stuck with you? It doesn't have to be the first one ever, but like which one was like a horror one and like something stuck with you that you remembered where you just go like tell people about because it was never going to leave your mind?
I actually didn't read much horror growing up.
I'll give him whatever.
So, sir,
he said, "Hey, I'm trying to get in on the action too."
Like this. Let's see. Let me look at my. Okay, Uzumaki by Junji Ito.
Oh yeah. Junji Ito's amazing.
Yeah, just every time you flip the page, there is a new angle, a new spiral of insanity, and it's just so detailedly drawn.
Yes, he's very good at that.
Oh my gosh,
he's so good at that. Like turning the page, it's like, what is happening? Like you're always asking that question in his work. Like, Junji Ito's going to definitely not.
He's not going to shy away from the horror in there.
And the gore and the creepy. He's not. So you don't have to worry about that. Those are very good picks. I myself have a few, and I play video games, so mine has like an extra kind of thing to it too. So like the first horror movie that kind of stuck with me was The Thing. And The Thing was like, I think The Thing came out like maybe it's like the late 80s. I mean, I was born in 84, but I grew up watching horror. My mom was a horror buff at the time. And The Thing, because of the way like the creature would like merge with another person, and then also the factor that you didn't know who was the creature, And then the person themselves, technically, they would say the person themselves don't know that they're the creature, but technically they're already the creature. So the creature knows it's that, but then it's like so it's self-important. It's like only worrying about this one piece. Though it's funny because all the pieces were connected, but it was just still kind of worried about itself, even though itself was all of the cells, you know? So I thought that that was very rememberable and stuck with me because of that. And the thing is like a kind of a mixture of eldritch horror with alien type of setting. So it's not very easy to forget the story itself. So I
And the
think that's
practical effects.
yeah, definitely. And they did do a remake of it, but I still like the classics the best. But the remake was the far as like we have better animation and things like that now. Of course, that can look real, so that was also good. But it's that stuck with me because of that. The video game. So the horror video game that stuck with me was called Eternal Darkness, and it came out in the GameCube era, which is about. And so you had GameCube, and then you had the Wii, then the Wii U, then the Switch. So now we have like 3 or 4 generations old of video games, which generations of video game consoles can be anywhere from like, usually it's 5 years, especially back then with Nintendo. So you're looking at like 15, 20 year difference now that this game is old. And I will always remember this video game. And I think it was ahead of its time too. And it's eldritch horror. So you have like cosmic horror video game that wasn't happening a lot. They have quite a few more of them now, actually, but they didn't have as many then. And the depictions of the cosmic beings and the way their minds worked was so captivating. And then there was one scene in the game that no one could ever forget with poor Paul Luther, who gets stomped by one of the cosmic beings because they are massively huge, and he's like a monk type, and he comes in there like you kind of like you get to choose like, but he's going to go in anyway. So he gets stomped because he's like, oh my goodness, looking up at this creature, and he gets stomped into oblivion. Like there's nothing left, just some sticky blood, nothing, just some sticky meat. And poor Paul Luther is remembered forever as who that happened to. So that was very well done. The way there's 3 different eldritch creatures in this video game, and they're going against each other in a way. And one of the eldritch creatures is kind of like the what we would call a prison guard of these other 2. And eldritch creatures are time, they go through time, they don't have the same time like us, they are in multiple universes multiple times at the same time. So it was like it played up all that. It was really good, and the game itself even messed with the player. So you'd be playing, and if your psychic meter kind of goes down because you're getting afraid and all this stuff, like it would blink the screen black, it would say your memory card has deleted, and people would be, the gamers were mad. They thought that their game data was gone, but it would blink back in, and your character would be walking like you're creeping down a hallway or something, and then all of a sudden your head would explode. Your character's head would explode, but then like it blinked back, and your head would be back, and your character would be like that, having a psychotic break. So like this game, I still have this game, like, and I have to really play through it again because it's so good. You have to beat it 3 times because of the 3 different cosmic beings you come in connect with. So it's like one of them, their color is green, then you have blue, and you have red. So it's like, it was very memorable. You can't forget this game once you've played it. So anybody who's into eldritch horror, you need to get a GameCube. You get them used online. I would totally get this game because it's worth it if you're into horror. So then I would say for books, I always say H.P. Lovecraft. A lot of people like don't necessarily like H.P. Lovecraft's writing because he's very narrative. Like most of his writing's narrative, not much dialogue, if any at all. But it's storytelling. And one of his stories that stuck with me was At the Mountains of Madness, because of the creepy way it's told, and then the details of the story, which they end up basing At the Mouth of Madness horror movie loosely off of that one, mixed with just H.P. Lovecraft in general. So you had the story of the movie when it was the writer, and then he kind of gets sucked in, and the world goes crazy, and then the cosmic beings and the monsters, all this stuff. So it's really good, but the story really stuck with me because H.P. Lovecraft's writing is very creepy. I mean, he pretty much came up with Eldritch horror to begin with. But
Mm-hmm.
so those are my three. So anyone want to answer that question in the chat? I will go here and check the chat right now before we move on to the second question. Let's see what everybody's saying. Let me scroll on back up here. RC says, I watched The Company of Wolves last night. Oh, did you? First time since I was a kid. American Werewolf in London is better. Yeah, American Werewolf in London is going to be a classic forever. I talked to you a couple days ago, RC, when I was talking about Dog Soldiers. Dog Soldiers is a really good werewolf movie because the werewolf detail is really well done on there. And most all the werewolves on there are females, which I thought was really interesting. That's to say they didn't see that one coming because it's called Dog Soldiers because the leads are like military guys and they're like out in the woods and then one of them get injured and they get like stuck and then these female werewolves this will be a spoiler if you haven't seen it. But the plot gives away pretty quick. The females are kind of like in the middle of the woods and they kind of looking for mates. So that's why they don't really kill them at first. So they're planning on turning these men and they're going to make them their mates. So that's kind of like bad for you because you're still going to go through the pain. So if you haven't seen Dog Soldiers, check it out if you're into werewolves. And at least oh yeah, you hear that. I'm glad. Thank you guys for telling me too because I was like, listen, my mic was down. All right. Thank you. Yes, give us the likes, all of the likes. Hello, Stephanie. Thank you for popping in.
Because they can be.
Roy.
We just went outside, dude.
He's like, I'm just trying to talk about him. This is my language. He's like, look, you're not looking at me and doing it, so I'm gonna have to speak up. Like you obviously don't see me.
Exactly.
Oh my. Yes, Little Psycho is a good one. Ever for classic. Saying hi to everybody. RC says first horror movie, Halloween. You were 3 to 4 years old. Horror book in a dark room, 6ish. Yeah, you did like me growing up. How Jen grew up watching horror wasn't a big deal. So we're all good. We turned out all right. An introverted horror writer all of a sudden.
We were watching a movie called The Raven.
Oh, The Raven.
It was an old black and white movie.
Yeah,
we didn't get too far because it scared the pants off of us.
Like, we can't watch any more of this.
Exactly. Like, there was a coffin and it fell over down the stairs and this corpse was there and it was very intricately done.
Like, very good job on that one, guys.
And me and my siblings were like, "Wah!" And my mom's like, okay, fine. No.
Yeah, they're going to be sleeping in their rooms for weeks after this movie. Too funny. Gotta muster the motivation to finish edits on my story. Yeah, well, aren't we all? It's always a muster thing with editing. I have so much work to do, it's not even funny. Barrett says, I think Pet Sematary was my first. Yeah, Pet Sematary was like, look, I wanted that little boy, I tell you. I always say, like if I'm taking my daughter somewhere and like there's a field that I take her, soccer field, I'll take her to, and she runs and plays on there near our house. And it's super far from the road. And we always go like to the very center of it and she runs and plays and stuff. And she knows her perimeter. You're not allowed to go so far from me. And I was like, yeah, I go there because I don't plan on letting her get Pet Cemeteried. I always use that as a like not running in the road, getting ran over by a tractor trailer. We're not going to be doing that. No. So yeah, Pet Sematary was a good one. It's always a classic to look at. My older brother, and he's a horror buff himself, but he has a problem with old ladies. Like the creepy old ladies in horror movies. That's his thing. You know, some people are like, oh, I got ghosts, and they're like, oh, the dolls that move and stuff, and other creepy things that they all pick that's their scariest thing. He's like old ladies. Like when the old ladies with the long white hair and they look creepy in the face, try to give you tea. He like, nope. I'm very uncomfortable. I'm like, you funny. I'm sure you're not the only one though. Let's see. RC I read Goosebumps before graduating to Stephen King. Yeah, all of us had Goosebumps. Goosebumps was good growing up. I did like Goosebumps a lot.
So I
Stephen
was
King.
banned from Goosebumps
You were
because,
banned from Goosebumps? How are you banned from Goosebumps? You.
okay, in elementary school, we had
Mhm.
a substitute teacher one day, and she
Oh.
showed us a Goosebumps episode,
Oh, yeah.
and it traumatized me for life. So it was the one where the dad gets replaced by a plant dad.
Yeah, yeah.
Stay out of the
That's a good
basement.
one. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I was terrified that my family was going to be replaced by plant people. And so my mom's like, okay, no Goosebumps in this house.
I don't
And
think you
so
probably would have been able to look at Coraline then if you were like that age, since Coraline's like, she
I
goes
was
in
a
and
little
other
older when we
mothers.
got Coraline.
Yeah, so it's a good thing you weren't like that age with Coraline because that's kind of
Yeah.
like similar.
That hand, man, that hand tapping on the window.
I know.
Oh
It's creepy. You win that one. That's true.
no. Yeah.
Goosebumps has some pretty creepy episodes, though.
Yeah.
Like
So
Goosebumps, I understand.
my middle grade horror that I'm currently querying is actually my triumph over my traumatization of Goosebumps. So
You've
I do have
won.
a plant person in there, and they get their
Ooh,
comeuppance.
you took
So
it. You took it on full thing. Okay, good
I
job.
did.
Good job. Barrett says, although, don't judge y'all. The Vamps and Buffy the Vampire Slayer 1990 scared me. Well, let's just say their faces are terrible. Their faces are terrible. They're like weird cat demon people or something. Like the vampires of Buffy was like very cat looking. Like they really did that well. And I watched every episode of Buffy and Angel. I was a big Buffy and Angel fan back in the day. But then I kind of like when people would start criticizing other vampire shows or other vampire movies or something, because for whatever reasons they didn't like them, and I would be like, now I know lots of people like Buffy and Angel, but I'm like, all vampire things can be ripped apart, just so we're clear, because they'd be like, I like Buffy, and I like Angel, and it's better than this. I don't know, something weird, maybe Twilight or something like that. Like, you ain't gotta like Twilight. I'm all for like not liking what you like, but you don't have to compare the dislike. Like you could not like something, but you don't have to be like, it's not as good as this thing I like over here. Like, give it a rest. Like, so I would bring up Buffy and Angel, and I would say, do you honestly think that was like that was cool where they would stake the vampire and they would turn to dust because you stuck them with a piece of wood? Did you did you think that was cool? Because they kind of pushed that during that era. I mean, Blade started it really, but at least on Blade he had vampire slaying weapons that were imbued with sun and blah 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 and stuff. But I mean, Blade didn't help us with that because Buffy and them ran with it. So they were like, oh, she'd kick a freaking chair or something to pieces, and then magically would be spiky enough, and then she would like stick them with it, and then they'd be like, oh, dust. I'm like, there's a lot of lore for vampires. Granted, things could happen. You could do what you want, but once you, Josh Whedon, he could do whatever he wants. His story, vampires turn to dust because they staked them with a wooden chair that may not even been made of real wood. But let's not start comparing it as if that's the way vampires die, or that those vampires are better than vampires that sparkle, let's say. Again, Stephanie Myers did not make that up. It existed in vampire lore well before she ever wrote it. It's just the old depiction of vampires being undead and their bodies being hard, hence the diamond effect of the sun hitting it, like some stones can do. That's all it was. I know everybody blew it up. It was like, oh, she's over romanticizing vampires here too much. I'd be like, you don't have to like romanticize vampires. There's plenty of other kinds. There's those Ratus. There's the really gory type of vampires who are salvages ones with the blood all over their face. There's all kinds for us. And believe me, Stephanie Myers didn't romanticize vampires, and Rice did that enough for us, okay? But her vampires were still vicious enough where people wouldn't say it as much. But like, she didn't make the diamond skin effect thing. Believe me, Stephanie Myers, most of her stuff, she read other books. Granted, she did try to say she didn't read any vampire books. That ain't true. We know that. That ain't true, Stephanie. Like, stop. But that whole spiel of the vampire thing, I can see why you would be creeped out by those, Barrett, because they look like cat demons. And that's pretty creepy. So we're not going to laugh at you for that one. Yuji Ito, yes, he is badass. Like,
I got
no
to meet
denying
him and he
that.
signed my copy on my birthday. He flew
Woo!
out to Toronto. I was like, oh
Yay,
yeah.
you! Oh man, that's so cool. I always hate when I miss my favorite writers and they're like here. I missed R.A. Salvatore one year and I was so upset with myself. I
Oh
think I was
no.
like 20 something. He came right to Baltimore. He was at the big Barnes and Noble in the city. It's like four state flights or something, and he was
Mhm.
there, and I did not know until like a month later, and I was so mad. I'm like, no,
Oh
I
no.
could have met him and got my book signed.
Mhm.
So you lucky. That's lucky, especially with Junji Ito though, because like Japan, hello. Um,
Mhm.
look at RC's like judges, Barrett. Oh, leave him alone. He said, "You can do RC. I'm good. I'm making dinner. You making dinner? Oh, look at you. Sounds yummy.
I
Let's
love
go to Barrett's
enchiladas.
house for dinner, guys. Get the planes, get the tickets. Judge away, yeah. I'm not gonna judge you for that. It was pretty creepy. I mean, like, whenever Angel would turn, I was like, could you not though? You look much better before you turn. Could you not though? Y'all,
Sometimes I will turn on the soundtrack to the thing while I read
yeah,
other horror.
yeah. The Thing soundtrack
Good
is
stuff.
awesome. It is. It's a masterpiece. Very good music. Love it. All right. Natalie says A, Jaws for me. Jaws is definitely a good one. Especially with Aphrodite because yeah, she's scared of all the creatures. Um age 5, still scared of the ocean. You have good reason. You have good reason. I mean, I'm not, as I say, like Aphrodite, I'm not swimming in Shark Pee. I'm not. Aphrodite always says. I'm like, I'm not going in their house. I'm not. I'm good. Like, I could, that's why we have pools. And we have like jacuzzis and things that we've made. I'll human made things. I'll leave all that water to the whatever's living under there. I write horror. Ain't no way I'm getting in there the deep, dark down there with like tentacle thing. I don't know what's down there. Loch Ness monster. It could be a Cthulhian creature. I don't know what's going on.
All those creatures down there are great inspiration for my own horror creatures.
They are right.
Like,
Endless.
I have one where I love the anglerfish. The idea of a
Yes.
lure that is connected to the bigger creature.
Right.
So
Yeah. That's
yeah,
so
I've
good.
used that a couple times in mine. I just love it.
Yeah, it's good angles. I mean, these are definitely good, like go to. It's like endless of what you come up with because of that. So many things and so many undiscovered things on top of that. So I mean, like you can write all kinds of things because they don't really know everything that's even there. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
the possibilities and the unknown. RC says his movie and the Mouth of Madness doesn't get nearly enough love. Yeah, it's a small like cult following because I think when it first came out, it got like panned or whatever. But I mean, most horror gets panned unless it's like the big ones like Friday the 13th, like the little horror stuff, like the little horror movies, they always get like panned. So you don't go listening to critics when you're talking about horror because you kind of have to decide for yourself. I mean, honest opinion, that's pretty much the case with everything because all our tastes are different. So, yeah, it's a really good one. It does the cosmic horror very well. Oh yeah, Jaws. Yeah, everybody was creeped out by Jaws. I mean, I thought it was a good horror movie. It was like part of the ritual of watching horror when I was growing up. My dad had like all the Jaws. Since I just woke up from unplanned nap. Yeah, those are nice. Like, oh, it's so sleepy. From the heat here in Texas. Oof. Heat naps aren't the best though. Like it's hot, so you just fall asleep. Like, oof. Poltergeist at way too young. Probably. Like, yeah, Poltergeist could be that could be I watched that pretty young myself. So yeah, Poltergeist is a good one. Like especially that
I
old
didn't watch. We
dude.
didn't have much horror in the house growing up. Like,
Yeah.
we had the remake of When a Stranger Calls,
Yeah.
and we had like What Lies Beneath, but and Psycho. We had a lot of Hitchcock, but that was about
Yeah.
it. So it
That's so
wasn't
much out.
until I moved out here for my job where we work on a lot of horror movies.
That you were gonna see a lot then.
Yeah, so then I was like, I need to fill in my movie gaps. So I watched.
You have a lot you can
Mhm.
find for real.
I watched Halloween 1 and 2 finally. I watched Alien and Aliens. I watched The Terminator. I watched 1 and 2. Like I watched what else did I watch?
You
Friday
keep
the
it Friday the
13th.
13th. So I was gonna say you probably saw those, but those would
Mhm.
be the top things.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Mm-hmm.
Like I
Finally was catch up
finally
all the
doing it.
classics, man.
I
That's a lot of
finally watched
classics.
Poltergeist. I watched The
Yeah.
Omen.
I thought her parents was kind of terrible on Poltergeist. Like when you get to the second one, like the sequel, like they just like abandoned her. Like they were like, "It's coming after you, kid. Good luck." Like,
Oh no.
what? I mean, I know you guys can't seem to take it, but really, though, I wouldn't abandon my kid. I mean, they was like they left her like, "Oh, here's your with the aunt." I mean, I know the story led to that maybe because they couldn't get the cast back or whatever, and they kind of still wanted to stick with the cast. But I mean, it's bad. You can look at the parents pretty bad. Like, wow, I was just like, "Nope, little girl, we can't take this no more. Good luck." Like, it's terrible. Yep, Poltergeist. Actually, the first horror movie to really mess me up was Hellbound, Hellraiser 2. I saw that at way too young of an age. Way is capitalized, so he probably was way too young. Yeah, the Hellraisers are, yeah, you
I've seen the
gotta be
first one.
like, yeah. Well, that's probably one of the best ones anyway. Because once you start making too many, start getting like kind of like when you have just take a soda and you start watering it down.
Yeah.
It's just the more you add water, the less of the soda flavor you're gonna get, and less of acid. It's like. So that starts happening. I haven't seen many horror series where they were any good once they don't reach like six or something. Like you need to stop. You need to move on because you're not coming up with anything more, and the scary starts wearing loose because I already know what to expect from this villain at this point. But I believe me, I've watched all of Jason movies. I love Jason. So it's kind of like Jason is a different beast because Jason's like he dies and he becomes kind of demonically possessed in that type of setting. So he's not human anymore. And then you find out that Jason, how he was catching everybody the whole time, he was teleporting. He like can teleport. Like wait, because they released the video games too, and then they kind of let that little kind of secret out. Like he freaking teleports. No wonder you're not getting away. You're like really running like you can't catch me. And all of a sudden he's right there and he's like destroying you. And you're like, wait, how did he get me? I'm like, now it makes sense. He's been teleporting this whole time. Like that's so not fair. He's already super strong and scary and breathing, like it's like a psycho. All right. Somebody said, "Hey, my mom read to me the book It by Stephen King. Oh boy, when I was 18 months. Whoa, your mom's like hardcore, and it's only been recent that I'm okay with clowns. Listen, clowns are creepy anyway. Like you wouldn't even need to read it for clowns to be creepy. Like, what are you laughing about? What are you laughing about wearing that makeup and them big shoes? Like, I don't know what you're doing with them balloons, mister. Stay away from me. So they're creepy all on their own anyway. So, yes. Wow, she's hardcore, man. She read you It when you was like 18. Wow. That's cool, though. All right. Made it safely. I'm good on social hiatus. Yeah, need that. A social hiatus every once in a while. Whew, it can wear you down. Ready to hop back on the socials a little this week and ease back in. Yeah. Ease back in. Take care of your health. Want a balloon animal? Yeah, Georgie. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, really. Right. Like the remake, though. I'm just saying. The remake was very well done. The dude playing it, Skarsgård, like, listen, he did a great job. Not to mention he could do the thing with his eyes himself. And he was creeping out people on the set doing that randomly at people and stuff. Like he could do that himself, which is like, wow. So he was so good at being it. His representation was quite close to the book representation of it. Not to knock the classic at all, because I think Tim Curry did very good with what he was given, and his acting is on point as usual. But it's like this new version, because of the stuff we can do animated wise and things like that, helped along with being a, you know, cosmic type of creature.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what people like. They'll be like, "Oh, I only like the." And part of me and my internet is going down sometimes, guys, because I don't know
Yeah.
what's going on this evening. But I'm plugged in. I always plug in, but that doesn't mean anything to Comcast. I'm just saying. But some people will knock the new It and then compare them to the old movie and stuff like that. And it's like, I like the old one better and I like the new one better and all that jazz. But again, people, you can like both of them or like one of them. It's okay. It's not that
Mm-hmm.
you have to make say it's better than the other one. But yeah, I like elements of both because if we could just combine both of them, it would be quite close to the book representation, really, because of the way they did the kids and the adults mixture in the original was more fitting to the way the book was written, and they didn't exactly do that in the new one. And they did change a few things. They they added some things back in for the new one that was in the book. So I thought that that was cool too. So you got to see some more stuff, and they added some things that you they didn't really have in the book. So which for more for the creepy, of course. So I liked it. I like both of them, but I actually watched it the old version like last month, and then I watched the new version. I like to do that sometimes. Let's see. Stephanie said, "Care to share the recipe? Somebody cooking up something. Probably talking about Barrett. Y'all
Yeah.
know he was cooking. Yeah, he's cooking. So glad my kids don't love clowns. Yeah, for your sanity, good thing. That would be bad. Mom, can we get a clown on my birthday? Be like, now I have to tell them the truth. To this day, I won't ride my bike or walk over storm drains. That's probably a good idea. I mean, it's not going to hurt you to be extra safe. You don't know because
Mm-hmm.
something creepy could be hiding in the drain. Listen, if something happened and something was in the drain, you would be alive because you took that extra precaution. So, clowns never bother me. They're fun. Even the evil ones. You are hilarious, RC.
You get those creepy ring camera footages on doors. Like,
Right?
yeah, it's like, okay, who decided to do this in real life? Like, what?
What's wrong with you? Right? I seen those. Like, listen. Well, I think anybody like I've seen those pranks where they had like the dude dressed as the clown and like the killer clown, and, like people run. Like everybody runs.
Mm-hmm.
There's someone going to stand there with a crazy clown running at you. Like,
Mm-hmm.
why is he running at me? I'm not sticking around to find out. That's the general consensus. The Color Out of Space is my favorite Lovecraft story. Yes, very good one. Also, The Dream Quest of Unknown Caddis. Yes, all good. I was just looking at the his complete works today that I have. I think Stephanie says I think it wasn't till around 22 years old that I didn't go into a full on panic mode. Dude, yeah, that clown. People scared. They have phobias and stuff, so they'll be like they'll lose it. So totally feel that. I'm glad that you're doing better with it though, because you never know. The mall specifically, I used to go to the White Marsh Mall back over here in Maryland, and it'll just be like a clown in there with balloons. I'm like, dude, you gonna scare somebody? I'm not scared, but I'm like side eyeing you. I'm not gonna like walk away with my back to you. Oh boy. All right. RC says I got to meet Nick Castle, original Mike Myers. Cool. At a convention last year. Got to tell him that Halloween was the first horror movie and that now I'm writing my genre as a grown up. Epic. Yeah, that's always good when you get to meet the peoples. Buffy says Angel. To Twilight, yes. Yes. Spike and Angel. I listen, I had a thing for Spike. I still have a thing for Masterson. Like I thought Spike was hot. I really wasn't into Angel myself, but Blue and Des doesn't look bad. But I was a Spike. I was a Spike girl. So it's like I had to pick Spike or Angel. I was a Spike girl because of course I'm a goth anyway. So dudes wearing long black coats with like white, almost white hair and tats and running off at the mouth is like hot. So yeah, I was all into Spike. Since the topic is vampires, Salem's Lot is my favorite Stephen King novel. Salem's Lot is good. I really like Salem's Lot. Or Lock, all vampires.
So I watch, like, I own the, I think it's 1922 Nosferatu.
Yeah,
But I
yeah,
also have the Klaus Kinski German remake that Werner
yeah, yeah.
Herzog did.
Yes,
I love them both. They're
I
both so
know.
good.
Yes, they
Rewatch them
both
every
are
year.
good. Yeah, I know. I always have the rewatch. There's certain movies and this movie series that I'll watch every year, like religiously or whatever. And then Halloween month, I call it, all of October,
Mm-hmm.
every day, horror all day. That's
Mm-hmm.
like me and my older brother's rituals. What we do. And then on Halloween we do like a table layout of horror. Like I make horror food. So like we took like sausage and made intestines, like
Mm-hmm.
an intestine platter with like the sauce and stuff. And we made a whole bunch of like skull things and stuff. So we go all out on Halloween. We love Halloween.
Nice.
I moved from Chicago for a couple of years. Came back to find out that Clive Barker hit up a convention here. I was beyond pissed. Like what? Hey, Colin. Thanks for popping in. Yeah, Colin's gonna be on the show soon. All right. Let's see. We're great. Jump on to the next question. We'll go ahead and pop it up there. Boom. I think it switched over. Let's see. Second question of the night topic. If you could be one horror villain, who would it be and why? This should be fun. I have my answer ready, so I'm going to go ahead and say while Laura is thinking on that. I would say Cthulhu. That's right. I'm going to go big or go home. Um, Cthulhu, honestly, because can be defeated, and it's an eldritch being, so even if you think they've been defeated, they haven't. So obviously, as a villain, I would never want to be defeated, so I can keep doing evil things.
Mm-hmm.
So that Cthulhu is endless. You don't know what's going to happen. Like, yes. So anybody want to answer that question in the comments? Please go ahead and have fun with that.
Mine is a very related answer.
Cool.
Azathoth.
Oh, nice. Look at us.
So sleep all the time and just relish in my dreams. Just let my dreams take shape and have
Yep,
fun. And
that's
I
it.
love the dreams I have in real life. Like,
Yes.
I love my dreams and never want to leave them sometimes. Like, I just like exploring stuff in there
Right?
and tinkering
Endless.
around. And
Yes.
so, if I could be an unbeatable eldritch being where my dream is the entire cosmos,
Right
heck
though?
yeah.
Who wouldn't go big? I'm sure everybody's gonna have different answers, but I'm like, I obviously would pick like an eldritch being. Like that's where I would go. Like they seem like they have fun. They don't need a reason. Humans, we need a reason. We have a reason for doing something evil in most cases. There's some kind of background, something happened, or
Mm-hmm.
our brain just did not develop right, or we got something going on mentally that gets us to that place that it just puts us under these labels that we're like a murderer or a psycho or all these things. There's some kind of background, else we wouldn't have profilers working. So it's like good luck profiling that eldritch being there.
They are beyond human morals.
Right, facts though. So yeah. All right, let's see what everyone else is saying. Let's see. Da, 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 da. Let's see what RC said. I really liked it. Chapter 1, Chapter 2 was a huge step down. Are you talking about the remake RC, or are you talking about the original? Because they could go either way. There's two parts either way. So I heard people say that about the remake. So I don't know why, because they didn't really ever elaborate on it. So I'd like to hear your reasons. It was too big for me. I watched the film, but the book was a gnaw for me. Stephen King can be long winded. He's and horror to me should never try to be, you know, too long. Like it gets in the one setting. I mean, you can have a horror series and be fine, but when you have one book and it's like 1,100 something pages, Stephen King, for the love of God, then people are gonna kind of like when a person sees that book size anyway, already probably frowning. I mean, they're gonna be like me. I don't really care about the book size because that's enticing to me. I'm like, oh, what's going on up in these pages, you know? But a lot of people are like, I don't have time to read. That is what they're gonna probably say. It's like they can make time, but if I want to give my time to that big of a book, it's gonna take me a year to finish it, you know. So unless you're like epic fantasy, you expect that. But
Yeah.
when you're talking about horror, you do not. So it's kind of like, shouldn't I have been scared already by you? Like this is going to this is going to take a while. So it's like that. So yeah, when people see it, it's kind of like it's really too much. So, but he had his point to tell a story for that lens. I'm sure. You know, I read it like forever ago, but yeah, I can see why that could be a little bit like, oh, look at the movie. Like, hmm. All right. RC said, it is a generally scary book. Perspective. I think it's opinion based on that. I wouldn't say that is overly scary. It's creepy because of just being the whole concept of it anyway. And you do get more details in the book about it. Because how many times I've told people that it was a cosmic being that they were kind of like, whoa? Like they were shocked or something. They thought it was just a clown. I'm like, did y'all miss? Did y'all miss the movie? Because if you didn't read the book, of course, but did y'all miss the movie? Did you hear anything it said? Did you really think it was actually a clown? Okay, this movie was like
Yeah.
super over your head. You didn't know what was happening. The story you didn't get it all. Wasn't about a clown. Just telling you. Too funny. Colin says first horror video game that freaked me out was Resident Evil. Resident Evil was really good. Mainly because I was a rubbish shot. Yeah, zombies will get you if you're you're a rubbish shot. Oh, and still my beating fear that is. Well, it's with Resident Evil. I think one of the first one of the fourth horror video games that came out before that were really creepy was Alone in the Dark back in the day, and the graphics weren't great because of the time period, but it definitely had like that creepy feel of going down the halls. You had the detective type guy, and then you could pick the female or the male, and they each had their roles to play, and it was very creepy. And Evil to me wasn't scary because I had guns. And even though it was zombies and you could get bit and you could die and all that jazz, but like it wasn't scary because I had all the artillery. So it's kind of like that's that whole thing. That's what came up with the name survival horror at the time. It's not a genre. It still isn't a genre in video game, but they coined the saying survival horror. Hence because you were surviving, but like these are like military specialists who are cops in the big city, and they got like shotguns and they're special trained and stuff like that. So like melting flesh creatures that the zombies were on the first Resident Evil was kind of like, yeah, okay, I'll shoot them in the head and we'll cut them up with this combat knife and no problem. Now when you start coming towards the more infected creatures like Mr. X later on in the series, and then Mr. T and stuff like that, like the tyrant, we call him Mr. T, but the tyrant, look, because you got like mutant hands come out and stuff. Now that start being like, listen, I don't want to fight this guy because I don't know, like he's going to stick that through me. Like I'm getting infected with that and turn it into some weird mutated thing. That's a little worse than this direct zombie infection. But like, yeah, so I can see where people could be still scared of Resident Evil. I just was like, no, I got these shotguns. I'm gonna take these guys out. All right. RC said I do my own 31 Nights of Halloween. Yay. I started with Exorcist and go random until ending it with original Halloween. Good job. Yeah, I always have my favorites in there. I like Japanese horror because it has the definitely they were amazing at the creepy for sure. Like the grudge stuff, anything along that, any of those wise tales or anything like that with like the woman on the tracks. And then one of my favorites is Red Woman. It's like a four or five movies together, and the specific one on there is it's not Tiki Tiki. They might have called it Tiki Tiki. or Rattle Rattle. That one on there is Rattle Rattle. They had another one, Tiki Tiki. That's the one about the train. You going across the subway train, and then it's like you going across the bridge, and it has Tiki Tiki here, and then it's like a red, weird woman thing come and get you.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
creepy. Rattle Rattle. This woman in like this red dress, and she's like super deformed, kind of skinny, like going on because she scratches her body, and then she's like up in the ceiling and stuff, and she's like hanging down, and then she this the whole twist is the woman like dies, but she don't know she's dead, and then she like falls, and then like she goes up to the apartment where this possessed woman was, or whatever she was, and she like chases her relentlessly through the city, and she runs to the police station, and she's like inside the police station, and then like it's terrible. I was like, you are so screwed, lady. Like you're in trouble. Like they're still escaping this. You know what I mean? So yeah, that type of stuff is really, really creepy. I love watching it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I beat you to Cthulhu. That's okay. I'll take. Oh,
You already
okay.
got those in.
All of us are all going to be just Eldritch all over the place, and you know what the pick. We could be the best villains. Oh, look at y'all! Look, everybody's going big or go home today. I see what's happening. Yes, you get to mess with the humans. I know. Great minds think like, hey, yeah, this is true. We know where's that in horror. We know what's going on. We know what there is no winning against. We've been here long enough to know. Ain't nobody
Mm-hmm.
gonna pick Jason. You know, he's pretty good, but ain't nobody gonna pick Mike Myers. Nobody picking Mike. Be like Mike Schmike. I'm going with the Eldritch Being. Yeah. Look, you beat me, so you can pick. Y'all can all pick if that's what y'all want to go with. I don't care. There's no first come first serve. Like October, I usually start with the Devil Rides Out, Night of the Demon. Yes, Night of the Demon is good. Then go from there. I like Cellar Dweller. Cellar Dweller is good. Really like Cellar Dweller. Yeah, he's laughing at you, honestly. Stephen King has Diary of the Word Process. He really can. It's true. When I see some of his smaller books, I'm like, oh, good job, Stephen.
Now,
Good
was it
job.
him or the editor that
Right? You
pushed for
know?
that?
Yeah, exactly. The part with the children screaming from the bathroom drain creeped me out the most in it. Yeah, that was good. Like that was good. I liked that. Audition is good. Yep. I'll be Dracula just to be different. Yeah, Dracula. You can't lose with a classic like Dracula. Come on now. No one's really catching you though. I mean, they can't beat you. I mean, Dracula's been like killed how many times? Killed. I mean, you can't really do anything to him. He can come back. Like, there's not gonna be no problem with that. You know. That's why Dracula probably all like side eyeing all the like the Buffy era when he was getting stuck with the freaking piece of wood. He was like, I'm quite sure that's supposed to paralyze me.
Some of his powers in the incarnation that they have in Helsing,
Yes.
um, Helsing Ultimate, like the anime, so
Mhm.
good.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I don't think you can beat that.
He was like, "What?" Yeah, I know. I mean, and it's endless with vampire stuff. Anyway, you could really do all kinds of things with vampires, and especially Dracula specifically. And I
Mm-hmm.
know they really lead with the Dracula thing because Dracula being like has the most religion based in it because of his cursing God and things and why the sun would bother him and things like that. No one ever said it was going to completely run him to dust if he, didn't like try to get rendered to dust by staying in the freaking sun. Like it was like soon as the sun touched him, he's like, I don't turn to dust. But it would make more sense for Dracula because of his cursing God than it would with other people's vampires that they wrote. They were like, and then they could be all like, "Well, they're related to Dracula because like he changed this vampire, and that vampire was that person's vampire that changed him." They could try to lead with that or whatever. But a lot of people like, "Well, can I make vampires that don't die in the sun?" I'm like, that's been not a thing forever. And how do we know vampires didn't make that up so they could eat you? You only inspect them at night. That was just a bunch of stuff that they put out there for you. How we know
Mm-hmm.
any of that stuff worked on them? Did you really think garlic worked on them, though? I'm just telling you. It's a natural antibiotic, but I really don't think it's going to bother them. But okay. Yes, great minds. I'll be Castle Freak. Nice. Helsing. Yes, Helsing's a good one.
Sarah's Victoria.
Yes. All right, so we've had enough fun with chatting. It's time to get down to story. Laura Nettles is going to be reading. Let's call it Last Photograph, correct?
Yeah.
Yes. Do you want me to put it up on the screen for people to watch along, or do you just want me to big screen you? How would you like it to be put?
Let's share the
You want to do
text.
this? Okay, cool. All right, let me do screen share and get it ready to go.
So when I read the whole thing, it's 7 minutes.
Okay.
So we might need to cut the first little bit if we want to keep it under 5.
I'll time you, but I'm not really pressed to be like, we're cool. It's not a big deal. I can let you do the 7. I'm the
Yeah.
host. I make the rules. So I read the whole thing. So I would like everybody to hear it because I think we'll miss some vital information if we cut this one at all. So let me go ahead and pull this up as the main real quick.
So this is an extended flash piece. It's like 1,200 words because that was the word limit for the anthology that I am submitting to.
Okay, cool. Let me do screen share real quick. And everyone, the critique that Laura would like, let me pull up the critique notes. This. Laura would like to ask to the critique to be, does the ending seem earned / make sense? So we are focusing on the end. So please pay attention to the entirety of the story because we need to know if the ending was earned or made sense. Okay? So pay attention to those little tidbits. I'm gonna go ahead and do screen share. Share the screen. Yeah, I know. We'll share the entire screen. Share. And I have it down here. There it is. Oop. And we're going to full screen that. I hate when my thing does the split off. Hold on a second. Like, no, I don't really want to do that layout. Hold on a second. I will just scratch it myself because I prefer this one page at a time. All right. Here. Here. Doop. Okay. Alrighty. When you are ready.
Can we zoom in a little?
Let me zoom in. I can do that.
Yeah.
That better?
So much.
Okay. You got it. All right, everyone. Let us go. Listen in. I'm going to mute myself.
Okay. Last photograph. The Model T peeled away from the curb, leaving Jack Pohl at the doorstep of the old Gothic mansion. It was a spectacle to behold, standing out amongst the cookie-cutter homes that lined the rest of the street. Jack picked up his case of camera equipment, popped his peacoat collar against the wind, and shuffled down the green-hedged pathway. Not a single dandelion was to be seen in the immaculately kept gardens on either side, as if even they feared to tread here. Statues stared at him with judgmental eyes. "You know better than to come here, Jack," echoed a familiar voice in his consciousness. The double doors came into view as the pathway turned a corner. Large and white, they gave off cold as if carved from an iceberg magically held in stasis. They chilled his knuckles as he rapped quickly on the surface, the sound reverberating into the house beyond. Snick. The doors unlatched from inside and swung open, revealing a maid dressed in the old ways. All black and white, frills contained to the apron. She moved mechanically, offering to take his hat and coat, as if this was all her days consisted of, waiting upon those unfortunate enough to be asked to visit this infamous estate. The home rumors swirled about. "This way to the parlor, sir," she intoned. The high-ceilinged hallways were candlelit where the light of the outside world could not pierce through. Slow breezes emanated from places unknown, picking at his bare wrists. If he were a poet, there would be enough atmosphere in this house to inspire dreary sonnets for a lifetime. The heavy wooden doors to the parlor groaned open, tendrils of incense sweeping out the room to twirl in Jack's face with their musty scent. As Jack's boot crossed the threshold, a feeling of absolute dread washed over his skin, sinking into his very soul. "You've walked over your own grave," whispered in the back of his mind, in his deceased grandmother's voice. Was she here with him now, warning him? "Welcome, Mr. Pohl." The words broke the spell. The hairs on the back of his neck stayed standing, however, to bear witness that the incident had been real. He looked around the dimly lit room to find the speaker. All the windows were shuttered and drapes were over what he assumed to be mirrors. 4 people were seated at the round table with candles, incense, herbs, and other trinkets scattered atop it. An elderly man was hoisting himself out of his seat. Jack nodded somberly. Yes, Mr. Dawson, I'm here for the seance. However, I feel the need to impress upon you that this is a very bad idea. I can feel it. Someone may die. Mr. Dawson slowly ushered Jack to his place in the draped corner of the room. Nonsense, my dear boy. It's just the nerves. The spiritual medium will be here any second. She is of high renown. You will not be participating, merely observing and documenting through those glorious pictures of yours. Jack now settled. Mr. Dawson shuffled unsteadily back to his velvet-upholstered seat at the table and resumed his position. The candles dimmed, flickering almost to be snuffed as the doors opened once again, revealing a woman wearing a voluminous black dress and long, transparent veil nearly dragging on the polished wooden floor. I'm Mrs. Blackwell, she announced, sweeping up to the table in the center of the parlor, owning the room with her presence. Shall we begin? I don't think... Jack was cut off by her fierce glare. Cowed, he finished setting up his camera and silver-coated plates to capture the photographs on in silence. Maybe since he wasn't participating, he would be fine? The circle was formed, hands clasped all around the table. The shadows and the candles cast took on a more ominous dance, their depths hinting at the deeper darkness about to unfold. Mrs. Blackwell cleared her throat. Whatever happens, do not break the circle. She then bowed her head and closed her veiled eyes. I call upon the spirits within the sound of my voice. Mrs. Blackwell's voice was ethereal, yet held the confidence of decades of practice. Give us a sign by ringing this bell. Jack relaxed as she continued to ask for the impossible. Maybe nothing would happen. Maybe he was nervous for nothing. Tick, tick, tick. Jack's pocket watch kept him aware of the slow passage of empty time. Time where nothing unexplained happened. Time to get paid to do nothing but sit and stare. Ring, ring. Fear crashed up Jack's spine. It was really happening. Flash. He took a picture of the ornate silver bell on the table, wishing he could capture sound as well. Flash. A bubbling stream of ectoplasm oozed from Mrs. Blackwell's mouth through her mesh veil to hang in midair over the center of the table. Flash. The torso of a man in uniform coalesced from the viscous black substance, his eyes wide and mouth twisted in a dying scream. Whoosh. Complete darkness, the candles whipping into extinction. Jack gripped his grandmother's crucifix in his pocket and prayed to her, his patron saint. Flash. Jack set off another bulb to photograph whatever was coming through now. In the blink of an eye, he could see the red hand reaching up the phantom man's face, dragging it back down into the stream of ectoplasm. The smell of fire and brimstone filled the room with suffocating intensity. Flash. The upper half of a demon was crawling out of the boiling black stream. Its acrid orange and yellow eyes slit like a goat's. The face they were sunken into as smooth and chubby as a toddler's. The arms were the length of a man's, fingers as long and sharp as spindles. The body, however, was an ever-twisting mist of suspended blood droplets, their metallic smell mixing with the brimstone. The high-pitched scream of a woman filled the air, growing wet and hoarse after a few seconds. Jack switched the glass plates out of the camera as fast as his shaking fingers would allow. Flash. The long, thin arm of the abomination was holding Mrs. Blackwell's still-moving tongue aloft, blood dripping into its open mouth, sliding down its childlike throat, where it re-emerged to join with the other droplets in its wraith-like body. All humans present shrieked and cried, a raucous laughter tainting the sounds with demonic pleasure. The circle broke as participants fled to the door, tripping and piling up on each other in their haste, trampling Mr. Dawson, leaving him to gurgle in the blood of his own crushed windpipe. Jack was down to his last bulb and plate, the last impression he would make in his lifetime. He unraveled the long wire of the clicker and moved in front of the camera. Flash. Jack Pole could imagine the composition as he felt a bloody red hand be yanked from his chest as he knelt center frame. The resplendent wings of his saintly grandmother framed him as she came to take him with her, the demon crushed beneath his feet, defeated by the heel of her love.
Very good. Stop sharing. Good job. All right. Go to the comment section. Now you can all leave your critique for her in the chat of what she requested. Pay attention to again the ending. Did it make sense or was it earned? I will pull up my notes for you. Or 1 second. All right. I'm gonna try to move this thing. It's like no. There we go. All right. So I would say the ending was earned simply because we did get like a little taste of his grandmother's existence. So that would make the ending earned of her just not like showing up and we had no idea that she was going to possibly show up in that well not in that way specifically, but it wasn't gonna be unearned, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak. Because of that. So good job on putting the little taste and tidbits that of his grandmother being in his mind and things like that. Um, as far as does it make sense? Now, I always when I hear whether something makes sense or not, I'm kind of a little fickle on that when it comes to fiction, especially horror specifically. A lot of the things we write are don't necessarily make sense because it's not supposed to make sense. Hence why it's scary too. So I would be more like when I'm writing something, especially horror based, is it cohesive just like I would any other story? Did
Mm-hmm.
it make connective sense in that way? As far as like her, if you meant sense as in her coming back, down, coming as from an angel, as an angel from heaven, and saving his soul, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak. That's when you're dealing with demons, your soul's at risk, not just your human body. So in that way, yes, that would make sense for sure that his grandmother would want to save his soul, knowing
Mm-hmm.
he was in that position. He chose to go, and she did try to warn him, but he didn't
She
listen.
did.
She did try to warn him. It's like that voice in your head, like I would say, your common sense. Like we all have it, but we don't always listen to the voice. It's like, look, I don't know if you should be here. Like, this is a bad idea. Like you're getting paid to be here, but still. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so do we listen? If we don't listen, we can put ourselves in a bad place. Like when I wrote The Room Within, Daniel did get a lot of like, feelings. Like that was his inner voice, like trying to warn him. Don't listen to the other voices in the house, Daniel. You know, but maybe listen to your intuition. If this isn't right, something feels off. I could go. If you choose to stay, you could end up like poor Daniel, or in your character's case. And
Yeah.
Lisa's grandmother was able to save his soul though. So this is like when we come into the talk about a good ending, a happy ending for horror. Technically, that's partially happy because his soul was saved. Could have been a lot
Mm-hmm.
worse for him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, granted, he got that whole hand through his chest. The classic the demons like to do to you. But yeah, so I think that it was earned, and then that it made sense if we're going to use that saying. So I think that it was well done. I do like
Cool.
shorts because they get you real quick. So
Yeah.
but yes, definitely. Let me see what everyone else has to say in the comments.
It's just in my previous draft, it wasn't clear that he had died, and so I had to try and
You were like, let me make sure that they understand that he's
let me
like,
just stick a hand through his chest.
yeah, let me see. That he probably was like, really though? I gotta get a hand through my chest. Yes, to prove that you're dead, you have to get a hand through your chest. I'm sorry. So it did something to you. You know what I mean? So yes, that's also why you probably added that. That makes sense. That's good that you caught that, so to speak. Somebody was like, wait, is he? Sometimes people do it
Yeah.
on purpose. They're like, wait, did he live? Did he die? What happened?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Who's
the
to
angel mother's
say?
taking him to heaven. Like, or she's coming to save his soul. She didn't say she saved his body. I would assume he's screwed, but that's me.
Yeah.
So yeah, good on you on that. Let's see where the comments last left off. I never want to be a vampire if it requires giving up garlic. Garlic is good, this is true. The original vampire lore doesn't really have the sun thing. It does not. That's more Dracula, and Dracula is not the first written or known vampire. So that's probably why. That
Is it
really came
Camilla?
around. Yeah, it's pretty much came. That pretty much was like more Dracula based. That's what I was saying. Like because of the whole cursing God thing. So that's why the sun would have an effect on him. And then they could say like vampires related to Dracula could have the same weaknesses or whatever like that. But yeah, that wasn't the thing. So when people be like, oh, I'd like my vampires to like, disintegrate in the sun. Okay, that's fine. But other vampires exist, like the ones that don't happen to, because writers write their own lore. Sometimes, we don't have to use everybody's stuff. We can make our own stuff. So like, relax. Uh, Lore's world building is vivid and lush. Yes, never fails. Wow, cinematic. Yes, could be a short movie. Snaps. You got some snaps. I love the ending. I thought that it built and had excellent tension. It seemed pretty clear to me. It's pretty clear. You don't have to worry about that. That hand through the chest did it. There was no there was no denying that he was over. Love the description, Laura. You amped the tension nicely, and the Victorian atmosphere was great. Multiple snaps.
I love Victorian atmosphere.
Victorian is awesome. That additional, yes, it did. Yes, I told you that. Sometimes we just go back and be like, oh, well, maybe I should stick a hand through his chest. Like, let's keep it clear. This is the way he's making his body's over. His body is over. You so funny. He's like, we try to put that, and then you try to put that. And he's it's okay. We're writers. We read through typos just so we're clear. Like, I don't even complain
not
about
even
it.
on purpose. We just automatically.
We don't do it on purpose. We're just like, I don't even complain about that. I'll be like, I knew what that meant. And just keep going. Just want my vampires to bite people. You so funny. That's an easy requirement. If they not biting people, like, are you a vampire? What are you doing? He's like, I lost all my teeth before I became a vampire. But oh
no! I never thought about that.
It's so funny. But I suppose in the vampire world, they would just probably say they grew them back because they have to survive and blood is the way they do it, blah, blah, blah. So you know that.
Generative powers.
Right. And there was, which vampire movie was that? Was it Underworld where they were like pulling their fangs out? The torture room or something? It was like,
I don't know.
Ripping the fangs out. But they would just grow back, but it would take longer for something like that to grow back. So, I mean, technically they could just drink it from a glass. So they don't need sophisticated. That's right. My vampires always drinking blood from a glass. Like, am I barbaric? Why am I sinking my fangs in their neck? Like,
so I worked on the TV show The Strain.
Oh, did you?
I worked on a scene where this older vampire, he opens his mouth and the protuberance comes out and it drinks out of the glass and it's like,
yeah. I loved that. I thought it was hilarious. Like, there's this vampire. It's from a video game era, but Blood Omen. Actually, the writer, a female, which was like really like a big thing then, and she wrote the Legacy of Kain series, and Kain drinks blood by doing this. So he just uses like the mind powers of vampire and drains the blood out your body with just like his hand. He may wound you or something, like hitting you or something like that. And then he'd be like, and the blood just comes out and goes in his mouth. He's like, oh. I'm like, what? I like that. That's pretty cool. I mean, vampires do have like the mind power, then they could do that. So I thought it was really cool. And they did that. I'm like,
really? I've never seen a vampire extract blood like through all the pores of a person.
Yeah, I think that
would be cool.
Yeah, that would be cool. I don't know if I've seen it yet. I think I've seen it where they've done some, but a lot of people go to the biting thing and stick to the biting thing still. But that really depends on how, biting makes sense for, the reason of them having fangs, and that's how the body worked out with that or whatever. But then it also could be the sexual part of it too, because them being connected through for vampires. So that could be a reason why they would keep it. Something about Victorian goth. Yes. I do Victorian goth. Being a goth chick, I go between Lolita goth and Victorian goth. It was great world building and atmosphere. Yeah, we horror writers know what we're doing. Okay, let me stop. So agree. Okay, saying hi. To say I hate this. Everybody hates their phone, especially when they're typing and it's like wrong word comes up. You're like, wasn't the character in Devil May Cry vampire?
I think so.
Are you talking about? What do you mean character? You mean a character in Devil May Cry that was a vampire? Dante himself wasn't. He's demon.
Oh,
Devil May Cry is like devils and demons. I'm trying to recall that a character may have been a vampire in Devil May Cry. I have like the entire series. I'm a big Devil May Cry fan. I don't remember if there is one specifically to point out a vampire because they're very much into the devil demon type of setting, so you can get a vampire in that easily. Um, but there was a vampire in the one Metal Gear game when they got more into like Metal Gear and started getting like mystical stuff in it. And there was a vampire in that, but he's more like scientifically kind of made. But he's very vampire, no lie. So guess I'm a brute. I like the ones who dismantle, rip bodies in half. Nothing wrong with that. I like the gore. It's okay. That's the thing. So, all right. So we are getting down to the last part of our show. We had some freaking awesome talks. But I will now prompt you, or to plug any of your things that's coming out, any newsletter you have, anything you have on your socials that people get to hear, like if it's books or stories. Any like I know you did plug some of your stuff, but anything you have coming up that you want people to know about, this will be the time to do that, and then we will be closing out the show for the evening. But I want to give you the stage yet again to talk about that before we do the whole closing thing. So if you have anything, here is your chance to shine.
It's so dark in here now. So
we can see you fine.
I am pasty.
It helps in the dark. It helps in the dark.
So today I actually released my How to Write a Flash Fiction in 10 Steps video. So that is out on YouTube. It's going to be part of a longer series on my How I Write Flash Fiction. So this one was like 25 minutes long because the write it step was like 10 minutes itself. But I'm going to be filming a video of me writing a flash and verbally spewing out what my brain is trying to do as I write it, so you can see my thought process. So that will be coming out. I am also doing a series where I write a Lovecraftian horror short story for an anthology. The first part is already out, where I do research and filling up the creative well and brainstorming for the story. The next part will be actually sitting down to start writing it. So, yeah. I do have a newsletter. You can sign up for it on my website, lauranettles.com. I try and send it out once a month. I did take a year break, but I am back. I sent one out in March. I will send one out in April. It will help you keep up on what I am currently submitting, what has currently been published. It will have little snippets from my stories so that you can read little cool vignettes. But yeah, that's me.
Yay. All right, so you heard all the good goodies that's going on over there with Laura Nettles. So do make sure, again, you subscribe to her channel if you are not subscribed, and follow all her things. If she has a newsletter, you better subscribe to it. I wish people stop playing with us. When we put out newsletters, you should be subscribing to all of them. Your inbox isn't going to complain, okay? Like, you can catch it later if you miss it. Why is everybody so pressed? Who doesn't like getting mail? I don't know. It's very weird. But make sure you subscribe to all her things, please. We want to make sure we get all of the horror writers in people's faces because we like scaring you. So, that being said, we will go ahead and do our closeouts. I may have missed anyone who showed up late. Heather, hi, thank you. If you missed the show, then you can watch the replays. It'll be ready soon for you. Make sure I missed any other comments real quick. Yes, please do. And make sure you give us a like on the video so people can find and get to see all the awesomeness that is Laura Nettles. We don't want people to miss that. Say later, yes. Yes, I heart you too. You're fine. You're fine. Thank you. I like being a rock star. I don't try.
You just naturally succeed.
I just naturally succeed. Like, everybody misses this sign. Like, I tried to tell you. I'm kind of a big deal. I warned people, but they weren't ready still. Alrighty, so we're going to do our closeouts. I'll go first so that my guests can go last, so you can have the last of her fading out. As you know, I'm author DL Tillery, the Mistress of Horror, and we like to do all the horrorly things over here. I talk about horror movies, video games, and books over here, and give you book tours when it inspires me to do so. I have over 5,000 books, so we're getting deep into my collection now. If you want to catch that, you can check my playlist lists and see what's going on with that. And you can catch CGL Horror the last Sunday of every month. I have a new guest every month, and I can't wait to share with you my next guest for April coming up. I already know who it is. So, if you want to hear about horror over here and get to hear some new horror writers that you may not know of reading something that's yet to be published by them, and you want to go check out something they do have out or coming soon, this is the place to be. If you haven't heard of CGL, then I don't know where you've been. You need to go over to Barrett Laurie's channel where the original CGL has come from. This one's a special spin-off of Horror Edition. So if you're not subscribed to Barrett Laurie's channel, then you also need to do that because you get to hear about all the other writers out there who are giving their stories to you to critique. And it's a great atmosphere for people to hear other writers. You get to see what we do behind the scenes, how we're structuring our stories, the draft version. Whew, that's a hard one. To us to let you hear that is such a labor of love for us to let you hear our work before it's been cleaned up. Um, so make sure you do that. I have all the links below to everyone you need to be a part of. And I will see you in the next show and switch this on over to my guest so she could do her closeout.
Hey everybody, my name is Laura Nettles. My YouTube channel is called Laura Nettles. My Twitch is actually Laura_Nettles. I will be streaming during April camp, Thursday and Saturday nights. Come along and get some words in. I do have a sign-up sheet for you to sign up if you want to help co-host. It's on my Ko-fi page. And yeah, I will see you guys all later. A ton during April. You're still muted.
April is here. I'm not muted now. I'm back. Magic.
Yeah.
April's here. We're gonna be doing a lot of stuff. I have a lot of stuff going on. I'm writing a lot. I've been writing all day. When I get off of here, I have to go back to writing because I have 3 projects that need to get done. And still a little bit of edit for Kaliasha before my editor gets it. Girl, didn't you say I was supposed to get it a couple weeks ago? I'm like, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have took all these projects, and now the last little bit of edit still got to be done before I hand it over to you. I'm sorry. But anyway, that's what we have going on. Again, press the like button and subscribe, and make sure you pop over there on Laura Nettles' channel and subscribe. And don't forget good old Barrett Laurie over on his channel, so you catch all CGL all the way around. We'll see you in the next one. Stay scared.